So offense has been the chronic problem for Oklahoma. And OU football fans, they're just trying to find a way or try to make themselves feel a little bit better about the situation and hopefully find a way to make the situation better for this season. And, a lot of people are just frustrated with, Seth Littrell. And I think a lot of people forget the way they feel about Seth Littrell is also the same way they felt about Jeff Lebby when he had the 6th ranked offense in the country just last season. If you all remember, the same quarrels and the same things you're saying about Seth Littrell are the same things you said about Jeff Lebby. The difference is the offense at this point is not the 6th ranked offense in the entire country. The offense is not putting up over 500 yards every single game. That's the difference. And so if you're an Oklahoma fan, I really want to ask you guys, at what point do you stop and you just give the process time? Because I look at Seth Littrell's offense and I say, he's missing his top 5 wide receivers. The offensive line hasn't been great. Outside of last game, it's been, I'm not going to say atrocious, but it's been bad. And then your running game hasn't been going. And so then you see a name like Graham Harrell pop up. And Jay did a really good job the other day of outlining this in his video. So if you guys haven't had a chance, go watch that one as well. But Graham Harrell, his name pops up. You see people, I even asked on Twitter, but it was supposed to be a joke, but people are taking it literally. Like, does he like covered wagons? You see people saying, hey, we should go hire him as the offensive coordinator. And I got to start by saying this. If you continue to change your offensive coordinator, you're going to have a hard time holding on to your offensive recruits. It's quite frankly that simple. Because here's the thing, the offensive coordinator might want to change other positions on the staff when it comes to the offense. And quite frankly, some of the offensive problems that we're seeing with Seth Littrell, it's not play calling. It's quite frankly execution. And that's not a Seth Littrell problem. That's the guys that you have on the field problem. And so for the rest of the season, if you're an Oklahoma fan, it's not going out there and watching Oklahoma score, 50, 60 points a game, put up over 500 yards of offense. It's seeing just little changes and little improvements, because we've said this, or at least I've said this for multiple weeks. You go out there and you score 25, 30 points a game on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to win games. Like Oklahoma, they only scored, 20 points last game, and they still won the game. You scored 25 against Tennessee, you probably win the game, right? So the offense doesn't need to be super spectacular, but if you see those small incremental improvements each week, I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you feel a little bit better. Now, Graham Harrell is going to be the topic of conversation today, because this is the one where a lot of Oklahoma fans, they really kind of jumped on this train saying, hey, we need to get him as our OC. And you saw some of this on Facebook. And I want to be honest, I'm on Facebook too. And I urge you, stay away from some of these Facebook groups. They are as toxic as you can possibly get as an Oklahoma fan. Because I get on there and let's be honest, my wife will tell you I love to argue with people. It's maybe a little bit in my nature, right? So I like getting on the Facebook groups and telling people they're an idiot, right? And that's what I like to do. But if you're just trying to get on there to source some news and things like that, maybe, follow some podcasters, or maybe get on some of these like sites like 247 or On3, right? And get some like real news. Like, don't get on Facebook and just listen to old Joe Blow, who is upset because he thinks this is equivalent to the John Blake era and thinks OU's the next Nebraska, right? And you still got to be careful with going to some of these sites and some of these podcasters where you're getting the information from. But at the same time, stay away from Facebook. So Graham Harrell, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with him, right? He has time, coaching experience. He was at Oklahoma State as a quality control assistant, followed Mike Leach to Washington State. He was an outside wide receivers coach. He was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at North Texas from 2016 to 2018, where he kind of made a little bit of a name for himself. USC from 2019 to 2021 with the forbidden coach that you shall not talk about at USC because, that was a whole situation out there. He was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, went to West Virginia, offensive coordinator, and then he went to Purdue, where Purdue was one of the best running teams in the country last year. And this is where I think it would make sense to bring him in, but not bring him in the position that a lot of people think you should. Some people are calling for him to be your next OC. Maybe bring him in as an offensive assistant, right? Bring him in one of those assistant roles that Saban used so often, right? I think that's what a lot of Oklahoma fans are starting to forget. You have the ability now with Brent Venables, we've seen him do it, to bring in more former coaches as assistants on the staff, maybe not in a big coordinator role, but just to be there to whether it's help quarterbacks out or help the passing game out, to bring him in to maybe help the running game a little bit, maybe shed some experience with DeMarco Murray might be, helpful. And then also maybe give Seth Littrell another set of eyes and maybe give him as somebody that maybe Seth Littrell even respects a little bit to give him some feedback on the offense and how the offense is being ran. So as far as Graham Harrell coming on the staff, it makes sense to bring him in as an analyst or as an assistant, but to bring him in as an OC and make a change, you're only 6 games into the season. I don't think it makes sense to fire Seth Littrell 6 games in and potentially shake up not only your 2025 recruiting class, but also potentially make a shakeup in your 2026 recruiting class. Because I'm going to tell you guys this right now. Jaden O'Neal loves him some Seth Littrell. If you fire Seth Littrell 6 games into his offensive coordinator career calling at Oklahoma, there's a chance Jaden O'Neal might start looking at other options. Because really, you didn't give Seth Littrell time. And he might look at wherever Seth Littrell goes because Seth Littrell is going to get a good job. Let me explain to you guys Seth Littrell's history in play calling. And we talked about this a little bit the other day. When he took over play calling duties in 2020, North Texas ranked 8th nationally in total offense, 513.2 yards per game, and 23rd in scoring at 34.4 points per game. What if Seth Littrell by the end of the season can get Oklahoma to that? Because I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Because as the offensive line gets more starts together, gets more reps, builds that chemistry, right? The offensive line is going to get better. As Michael Hawkins is in the system a little bit more and learns Seth Littrell's system a little bit more, and as your wide receivers get healthier, this is a possibility. And if you're 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, there's a chance you see a Nick Anderson and a Jalil Farouk come back, because at that point, you have a chance to play in the college football playoffs. So the idea that we're not going to see this offense isn't true. And maybe you don't get there. Maybe you're averaging 400 to 450 yards per game. That's still pretty good. That's still going to win you football games. And so you look at his time, whether it was at North Carolina or you look at his time at Indiana, he was consistently in the top 15 nationally in terms of an offensive production. So I urge Oklahoma fans, give Seth Littrell time. Don't jump off the bandwagon yet, because so many times fans want to jump off the bandwagon. They bring somebody else in, and the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Fans were so ready for Jeff Lebby to leave. And quite honestly, Jeff Lebby still might be the offensive coordinator here if he didn't get a head coaching job this season. And quite frankly, the offense probably looks a lot better. And you probably don't hear as many fans complaining for an OC change. But you change an OC, you bring somebody else in, it might be a slow start. But you also have to look at it. There's so many variables that are playing against Seth Littrell right now. It takes time to get this thing rolling. It's going to take time. So, guys, if you haven't already, you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, you hit that subscribe button. And if you guys haven't joined the discussion, jump in the comments below, give me your guys' thoughts.